Hello, it's James from xrobots.co.uk. This is part 3 of my Guinness World Record attempts for the largest 3D printed sculpture of a human in the world. The current record is 3.06 metres and I'm attempting to beat that by quite an amount. Check out part 1 to see the 3D scan being done, and in part 1 and 2 I got this far, which was printing down to the calves. So it's really important to say that the filament for this project is sponsored by 3D Filler Print and the printers are sponsored by Lolsbot. So today we're going to work down and we're going to put the feet on, some sort of base, and we need to put the arms on, and we're going to do some cosmetic finishing. I've printed most of the leg parts. All of these are still not glued together. They're all in quarters pretty much. They're very easy prints that were just straight up, so not too many challenges there. All of these take us all the way down to the ankles, so we're going to have a look at those feet and then we'll get some of it glued together. As I say, all the parts are printed down to the ankles now, so we can get rid of these, but they were fairly simplistic parts to print. So what you can see I've done with one foot we're going to try first is actually cut that up into multiple parts. So we've got kind of a middle section and the ends, and then we've cut the middle section into two more pieces on the top where all of this detail is, and that's probably because it's going to be quite tricky to print and I really want a flat on the bed where that seam line is. So we're going to get those printed and hopefully that will be alright. Here are some of those foot parts coming. It's looking pretty good so far, but we're only about halfway up on one of them. So that was cut into lots of pieces and printed in various orientations to get all the details over the shoelaces and so on, and it looks pretty good. All the parts seem pretty complete. So now we have a pair of feet. Here they are, and those need to be stuck onto the legs, which I've now stuck together. And the only problem I now have is that if I put these on the bottom of these legs, then it probably won't fit under the ceiling. I think it just will, but then I won't be able to get it down the stairs, so we need to move it somewhere else with slightly higher ceilings, where it's nearer a door to the outside. Alright, so I've brought it downstairs to the room where the droids live, and there's enough space just under the ceiling there to stand it up and move it around. So I should be able to get it out. Obviously I can't stand the other sections on, we'll have to wait till we do the public event to exhibit it for that. I was going to put a base on, but actually it's pretty sturdy. I think it's going to stand on its own feet. So that's pretty good. We should put some arms on it. And then apart from the cosmetic finishing, we've pretty much done. So the plan for the arms is to have all these crazy looking planes, and basically what I've done is cut a wedge out. And that's only cut out of the back, so of course at the front it's not visible. So what we're going to do is cut that wedge out, print it separately and attach it to the rest of the body, and that means that I can slot the arms on and they'll kind of slot into that dovetail piece, and that should mean I can remove them. Of course they hang below the waist belt, so they need to be removed so I can transport that top part of the torso. Here's one of those wedge pieces coming. Of course the curved surface is over the top and all of these edges are straight where they glue on and slide in. So this is the bottom of that piece, and this is where it slopes up to come down to my arm. So as you saw in the CAD, that leaves a wedge which is now glued onto the body here, and it leaves a cutout in the arm, but only at the back. The front there's no cutout, so that means I can push the arms on and they fit in there pretty well, and that means I can put the rest of the arm on here, and they're removable so I can assemble them when I put the whole thing together. So that only leaves the fairly simple task of cutting the rest of the arms up, which we're just going to do with these planes, and that brings us down to the wrist there, so we can print the hand as one part and the rest of the arm as the other. Here's one of those normal arm sections. It's about 3% infill and it's a pretty simple part. So this is the start of my hand being built up, and that's my thumb, and my fingers will appear on here. So those are both of my hands. Of course I can't quite glue these on here yet because they'll go past the floor, so I am going to glue them on, and we'll take the arms off and make the hands and arms into one piece. Then obviously we won't ever be able to reassemble it until we put this on its bottom and stand it up at the final exhibit. So those were the last 3D prints, and now we've got all the pieces. So pretty much we've done. However, I still can see some seam lines in here and I'm not very happy with them, so The rules state that you have to make it to sort of a high professional standard and in fine detail. Now the previous two record holders, the first one did have visible seam lines, but they were full colour prints, and the current record holder, as of the time of recording, didn't have visible seam lines, but they did do the print in PLA just like me, but they had a professional artist paint it in full colour afterwards. So I'm going to paint mine in one white colour, and we're going to try and patch up some of those seam lines with paint. And I'm going to use this paint, which is sealing paint, which says that basically it fills cracks and stops them reoccurring because it's slightly flexible. It's a matte white paint, so we're just going to cover it all with that, and hopefully we can fill in some of those seam lines and make it look like one uniform piece. Yeah, the paint's quite thick, so I'm just rolling it on with a fine roller you'd use for a gloss door or something. It's definitely going in the seams. I can't see any gaps now. And it's going to give it that one consistent colour, so they'll still be kind of visible, but they sort of were more visible in the first record holder, so I think that's probably going to be acceptable. So I've covered all of that with paint and I'm pretty happy with the results. There is a kind of a ghost of the seam lines that you can just see there, but that's okay because it is stuck together out of 3D printed parts. And when people look at it, I want them to know that it is actually 3D printed. When I do the public event, I've got some chunks like this I can show people, and then they can see that in fact it is made of these 3D printed parts. So the next thing I have to do to get the Guinness World Record is put on a public event, have a quantity surveyor measure it in front of 2 independent witnesses, and capture the whole thing on video. But if you want to see the public event and see more of this all in one piece, you'll have to come back in part 4, which is the last part of the series, I promise! Alright, that's all for now.